Thanks to Rich for sharing his part two of the story, talking about his biopsy surgery, dealing with the wait for answers. Now, in part three of our conversation, Rich shares how he had to speak up for himself in order to get the answers that he both wanted and needed, learning about the BRAF mutation, all in the lead up to deciding what treatment path was right for him. You felt like crying, which I think a lot of us do or want to in the moment. Can you explain like what that was? Like what was driving those emotions for you? Was it like feeling isolated? What was it?
Yeah, I just remember sitting in that room. It just felt cold. It just felt really cold. Like, here's a third of a death sentence at least. At least that's how I felt. As like this is such an important piece of information, and it seemed so transactional. And again, I'm not faulting the surgeon. It's not his fault necessarily. I think it's more the system of how to think about somebody's emotional journey through this process. It just you're kind of seeing a seam in the system in regards to just okay, off to now you're on to the next phase, and I did my part for you. Again, no fault to the surgeon, but it just like now I'm kind of in a chasm. I don't know who's this next person I'm going to talk to. I need to wait for them to call me in the next 2 days, and like it's so ambiguous, like the timeline, the who, the what, the how it's all going to unfold. I just felt a little aimless and lonely, I guess would be at the end of the day. Just like I said, a little um, just feeling a little unknown because it's don't call us, we'll call you situation. He said, yeah, in a couple of days, oncology will reach out and to schedule an appointment with an oncologist that you'll meet to kind of talk through what the next steps are for you. So again, that was just part of the system, but it's also you don't have any control. You're just waiting for the system to get back to you. And again, I can't express this, adamantly enough. At least for me in my situation, I knew I was still catching this, what I thought was like super early, and that literally days matter. And it felt like a ticking time bomb was potentially still going off inside my body. And I didn't have any control over, how fast I could get more action to, determine if that bomb still exists or not. And if it does, like, how can we get to solving this problem as quickly as possible? Because we all know early detection, early treatment is the biggest success factor, no matter what type of cancer you have.
So it was don't call us, we'll call you. Did they call 2 days later?
Yes, they were on it. I think it was less. Like honestly, they were all over it. And I had an appointment with oncologist within days.
And how did that go?
So a lot of prep went into that one. This is where again, I have had the affordance of having my sister, and what we had been doing up until that point is we created a Google Doc. We called it Rich's Fight. And I started just layering in like all the questions I potentially had for my oncologist. My sister was doing a great job of the timeline of everything that we've discussed in this conversation is documented with actual now like pictures of what it was before I got diagnosed, after the shave biopsy, after the surgery. Like she's got a great documented timeline, and this is a thing that I would recommend everybody does, and just kind of share with your inner circle and your support group, because you're not thinking of everything. Your head's not in the right space, and it's a place where everybody can pile in all the information that you need to know or need to ask. And so there was a lot of that. There was a lot of research being done on the outside in terms of what to expect next and what the decision tree looked like and what kind of questions I needed to ask my oncologist. So I felt like really well prepared. The other thing that I learned from my sister, which is really important, is this sounds bad, but everybody needs to know it. If you are an informed patient, you will get better treatment. And so if you ask really good questions and you come in as if you know a lot about your situation, your treatment success will increase. And so I always kind of had that mindset of going in and trying to be a super articulate and thorough about everything and every interaction from that moment forward.
I'm really happy that you're bringing this up because that's part of our mission too, is just to empower patients with more information and be more in control of, essentially their destiny. And so I appreciate that message, Rich. And, before we go even deeper into what you had to, what you were learning for yourself, you were talking about how you technically were in remission after the surgery at stage 3B, but the point was you needed to think about treatment because otherwise the recurrence probability was quite high, right? Could you describe what you learned from these melanoma experts or expert?
Yes. So I met with my oncologist and we went through kind of all of those questions. In the meantime, um, my sister was able to, through her network, set up an appointment with one of the best melanoma experts here on the West Coast. It happened to be up in San Francisco, which is about an hour and a half drive for me. And so my sister flew out and we met with this doctor, and he spent 90 minutes with me and my sister, did a full body exam again, had all of my data, my biopsies, all of that at his fingertips. And he did a thorough job of walking through my staging because he broke down, based on no ulceration of your melanoma, but the depth and rate of growth, and brought up, hey, there's this mutation that we should test for. I didn't know anything about that. It's called BRAF. Really important to understand that. And I still don't know everything. I'm not the expert, but for melanoma, it can be caused by sun damage, or it can be caused by cell mutation. Mine was cell mutation, not sun damage. And whilst I think the current treatments don't really factor into, like, you'll get the same treatment regardless of the origination, it's still important to know that. And he's like, you should ask for that test, make sure, let's be thorough about our testing so that we have a full understanding of your situation so we can make the right recommendation for your treatment.
I mean, and that's the thing about going to a specialist, right? That was one nugget that you didn't know before that no one else had brought up about this testing to figure out if you have that mutation. To your point, right now doesn't impact the treatment decision making tree, but it could down the line, right?
It could. Yeah, I definitely think so. As they continue to advance the medicines, I'm sure it'll be a factor.
So you had mentioned you'd written, the basic premise for the treatment for myeloma is to reduce that probability of recurrence. And so he was the one then who walked you through the clinical trial possibility, right?
Exactly. So as part of kind of towards the end of that conversation, he's like, look, based on your case, I think you would be a great candidate for a current clinical trial. There's always clinical trials going on. They come and go. And so I think he was kind of more attuned to the academic world of melanoma research. And I think this was I was so thankful to be able to talk to him and have access to him, because I don't know if the clinical trial would have been put on my plate or not. Otherwise, it probably would not have. And again, it's, nothing on my current oncology, treatment support. They just aren't part of that faction. I realized there's community oncologists that are there to deliver treatments. And then you have kind of more the academic side of things where they're on the cutting edge and have an understanding of the latest and greatest things that are going on. And he just happened to be that. And so within an hour, this is highly unusual, he took my case to the tumor board at that hospital and presented my case. And that started me down the path of wanting to opt into that clinical trial.
I had jumped the gun a little bit because I had not asked what your original oncologist had said were your treatment options. Had they laid out, well, here's ABC? What did they say?
Yeah, so there's one step in here before getting to that is needing to go get scans to understand if there's any further spread or detectable spread. And so any path would take you down this road of getting a CT scan, a full body CT scan. And for me, it was important also to get a brain MRI, again, because melanoma tends to want to travel to the brain. So both of those things were recommended. I got both of those things relatively quickly, even though it's a little harder. I think scans are in such high demand. I had to shop around at local places to like get earlier appointments versus something local. I was almost going to drive 3 hours out of town to like get something faster if I couldn't get something within a week. Again, because this is ticking time bomb situation, and I wanted to get these things knocked out as fast as I possibly could.
I wanted two quick things. One, clarification: was it a PET scan that you underwent or a CT scan?
It was a PET.
A PET scan, and then
Yeah.
an MRI of the brain.
Yeah.
And the second, I just wanted to make sure that was right. And then the
Sorry,
second
sorry
thing
for confusion.
is, oh no, I mean, I think it's a good sign that you start to mix things up. You're like, oh, there's distance now from when it
Yeah,
happened. The second thing is, you had talked about like, hello, I have this ticking time bomb going on in my body, and yet you're met with this, well, hey, we're overbooked here, we can't see you here. And I think I went through this too, where it was like, wait a minute, hello, like, shouldn't everyone be racing to see me? And
yeah,
right, like, how do you like, it's a tough thing to sort of rationalize or realize, right?
yeah. I think it's one of these things where I just had the perspective of there's a system. I need to advocate for myself, and I'm just going to push and get alternative answers. If I don't like the answer here, hey, if you can't get me in 2 weeks, is there other like places close by you'd like recommend that might have some availability? And they're super happy to help, but you have to ask. Like it's not a thing that is top of mind for them to serve up. And so again, if I can drop like one piece of advice, like it would be that is don't just accept the first answer if it's not good enough. Continue to advocate for yourself, and if you can find something faster, you might be able to do that. And so again, this is like now the third moment of truth, right? You've gone like stage 0 to stage 1, stage 1 to stage 3. Now this is like, is this a 3 or a 4 situation? And thankfully for my particular situation, all of my scans came back negative. And so that was just like that was like, oh wow, finally a win, finally a relief, for me in my situation. And I remember just being so happy, and those things come back so fast.